Now, usually zombie apocalypse stories take place in the modern era, making the slow-moving cannibal corpse much less of a threat due to modern amenities, weapons, and supplies. The Netflix series Kingdom takes the undead outbreak and pushes it back quite a bit to the Joseon era of Korea, where the entire shebang of survival plays out completely differently, embroiling the country in political strife, mixed with the impending emergence of a hellish disease that could be used as both a weapon and a tool. A disease that could change its conventional means via wildly different transmission vectors, with possibilities ranging even further beyond what the series and its time period can allow it to have. Water, temperature, light, and consumption, all in a virological triangle attempting to allow ancient parasites to take control. But would the conditions of an Asian dynastic kingdom that existed for half a millennia until the late 1800s be anywhere near explosive and deadly in the present day? Let's get into that as we do the first probably in a while, as today we are telling you why you would probably survive Kingdom's zombie plague. While today's scenario might be survivable, surviving the tons of scenarios can be near impossible, but you can get a leg up on not only surviving, but kicking some ass with tons of legendary heroes thanks to today's sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. It's a pretty good time to get in on the fun with the new Leminisi Chase event going on right now. Start logging in for 7 days to earn the legendary champion and icon of justice herself, Leminisi the Gold-wing. Use her to block buffs from foes, decimate champions of the corrupt Alliance, and bypass enemy defenses. Perfect for taking on the event dungeon boss Kurosa the Covetous. Make sure to start before July 31st and get your 7 days in before August 20th to unlock Leminisi, with an additional batch of goodies coming your way if you log in for 7 more days. Get some other badass heroes to back up Leminisi just by joining now, as it's the best time ever to join. New players can get 2 epic heroes and 1 legendary hero for free just for signing up. If you use any of these codes within the first 48 hours of starting new, you can get some pretty sick champions. Use code TreeHugger for Green Warden Ruark, Monkey King for the Journey to the West Icon Sun Wukong, use code GetAlice for Alice the Wanderer, code Demon Slayer for the Short Fuse Tholan Foulbeard, and use code Desert Queen until August 12th for Tahanarik. Gather up all these heroic champions to play on your PC, Mac, or mobile devices with AAA graphics, fighting against an endless amount of content, leading up to one of the most advanced PvE modes out there, going from campaigns to dungeons to clan bosses, and then against each other in the arena. And while you're at it, you can join up with me in my Wowsuch clan right now to get to raiding. All of these free heroes and more are yours upon registration. Hell, do it now to get Tagoar, the epic orc champion, along with 300k silver, 1 energy refill, 10 magic brews, and 1 day XP boosters. And when you get to level 15, you'll get Tayrel of the High Elves for debuffing prowess. Half a dozen heroes for you to choose from just for getting started. That is a hell of a way to start your journey. Join my clan, the Wowsuch clan, to get to kicking some ass. And make sure to use the QR code on screen or clicking the link in the description or pinned comment below and hop on Raid Shadow Legends today. Hypothesized to have existed for over 1,000 years, a purple flower in the forests of the Pyeongsegon region of Korea grew in its moss-ridden undertow, referred to as the Rose of Jericho, the Flower of Stone, or even the dinosaur plant. The beautiful flora would be in a forbidden land that the Joseon dynasty's government prohibited creating settlements within. However, for a brief period of time, the barbarian tribes of the Jurchen people would reside there in exchange for services to the Joseon king. One tribe amongst the Jurchen, named the Pyeongsegon, had sought to unify all their groups under one banner through force, killing anyone that resisted the new rule. This quick ascension in numbers, power, and force made the Joseon dynasty nervous with growing conflicts coming from the Japanese, fearing the Jurchen attacking them while they were highly preoccupied with invading Japanese forces. One day, a group of 15 Pyeongseon men left their forbidden zone to Joseon territory, purely searching for ginseng. Believing this to be either reconnaissance or the prelude to an attack, the Joseon royal army slaughtered them. Covering their tracks, the dynasty forced the father of the girl Ashen to become a spy and twist the narrative, while Ashen herself was a young girl seeking to cure her sickly mother, regularly using the resurrection plant to try and cure her. Her father would tell the Jurchen people that it was a tiger attack that killed the 15 people in hopes that his village would be integrated into the Joseon Empire by the promise of the Joseon. Nobody was believing what he was saying. Ashen returns to the forest where she discovered the resurrection plant, attempting to decipher glyphs all around the plant that were left by long-gone civilizations, hoping to find the true properties of the plant, learning of its ability to reanimate the dead in monstrous ways. Ashen would return to her village of Xiangjianyang to find it decimated. The Pajiawi knew of her father's deceit and killed everyone that she knew. The entire village was dead. As a sole survivor, Ashen would seek revenge by going to a military camp as a butcher and training in secret, until eventually discovering that the Joseon dynasty were the ones that framed her village and most namely her father from the beginning. They had informed the Pajiawi of the tiger story being a lie from the very start, so that the tribe would focus their hostility on her village. Knowing this, Ashen would enter the military camp at night and stealthily kill numerous guards in their sleep, and using the resurrection plant to turn them into undead cannibals, causing chaos and the first outbreak of this brand of zombie. While this was not capable of spreading the disease from person to person, the monsters were still indeed fearsome, brutal, and hard to take down for those that first encountered them. The nightmare quickly became a soon-to-be-realized weapon for the Joseon. Ashen would sell the plant and its knowledge to Joseon's royal physician Lee Seung-hui. He would then relay this information to Chief State Councilor Cho Hak-ju as he would seek to use its power. The village of Sumang had already been long stricken with what was probably bubonic plague, so Cho ordered the execution of all of its people. They were already marked for death, so might as well just get rid of them. Having his forces then put the plant in all of their dead bodies. The people would soon rise from the dead and be used as ravenous foot soldiers to bombard invading Japanese, catching them off guard. Cho would see the results from this, and then use the plant to reanimate the king of Joseon after he had passed from an unknown illness, doing so in order to usurp the crown by keeping the king alive long enough for his daughter, the queen, to give birth to the next heir of the Joseon dynasty. While this royal insurrection was occurring, the village of Jeolhyun had been experiencing starvation amongst its numbers. Food was slim. The government was not helping. A physician from the village named Dan Ai attempted to see the king, but in his infiltration, he was bitten by the undead monarch, growing ill and dying within a few days. Danny's body was returned to the village as physician Seo-bi attempts to discern what had killed him. She would go out to collect herbs, and while she was doing so, one of the villagers would chop up his dead body and serve it in a soup to the entire village so they wouldn't starve. In times of desperate hunger, this village had formerly resorted to cannibalism to survive. Not knowing that they had consumed tainted meat, the village would all die promptly from the virus and reanimate into a new form of the undead, while the former infected would simply be born from those imbued with the plant and by others to infect them with the fatal illness. This new zombie could come back and bite others to immediately spread the infection. Bottom line, if you got bit by the former infected, you would just die, but if you get bit by these infected that ate a tainted corpse, you would reanimate. Somehow, through consuming the flesh of an infected corpse, did it mutate to have these properties. From here, the new form of the undead would be used by Cho more and more to further his political interests, both as a probable defense against the Japanese invasion and to wipe out anyone that opposed his incoming rule over Korea, with a few caveats into how they behave, what environments they thrive in, and how they can be killed. The people of Joseon discovered how to fight back against them, even wiping out out the infected completely for a time, only for them to come roaring back years later. But it's here we will stop with the lore behind Kingdom and Ashen of the North and delve into the zombies or monsters themselves, what they are, what they can and can't do, the truth behind the resurrection plant, and how modern-day man would most likely survive against it. To start with the monster virus, we must first understand that this is no virus at all, but a parasite. The resurrection plant isn't the source, but home for a deadly parasite. Their eggs laid only on the leaves of the forbidden flora, lying dormant until they are exposed to a host organism for which they will travel through the bloodstream and quickly begin to burrow into the brain of a victim, quickly seizing control of the nervous system and transforming them into a mindless zombie as millions of eggs are laid and hatched throughout the body, primarily in the gray matter, either through directly consuming the parasite via the plant or the insect itself, or via eating the flesh of a person teeming with the parasites. The process of incubation and full infection is incredibly fast, nearly identical in transformation time as the rage virus, but nowhere near as infectious or overwhelming, but it does have extremely deadly qualities. Their eyes widening out to the point that the pupils are nearly non-existent, but not affecting their vision in any way at all. All of those infested with the parasite will effectively be fast-running, durable corpses that are extremely hard to take out, with humans becoming mindless cannibals hell-bent on getting to their prey by any means necessary. Most of those means being ravenous brute force, even capable of climbing and reaching prey with nightmarish agility in some cases. As stated before, there are two types of zombies that can come about, although the original variants will most likely not persist, with the first type only being those that have either directly consumed the parasite via the plant or via the parasite being directly injected into a dead body. Any reanimated corpses created via this manner will not be capable of inducting others into their ranks via their own methods. They will simply create highly toxic chemicals in their saliva. When exposed to a victim's body via bites, will their nervous system completely shut down within 3 to 5 days, killing them in a more depressing and slow manner. It's only when you go full body of Christ mode when the parasite starts to go sicko mode. Due to an undisclosed mutation of the parasites when within a host body, will they be able to turn those toxic chemicals that would formerly purely kill someone else into a vector for transmitting their eggs by the thousands to other potential carriers. The next generation parasite that was formerly vegan and now carnivorous has imbued that new philosophy into their homestead. However, unlike other zombies who simply seek to eat the flesh of the living, the Kingdom monsters are more concerned about spreading the parasites to bolster their numbers, to birth more of their wormy offspring in any warm or cold body possible, meaning they, much like the cordyceps spore infected of The Last of Us, have a much more goal-oriented mission of ensuring more infected counts happen rather than total death tolls, or that would be the case if not for the fact that any animal can be suitable for infection. The first signs of the parasite taking hold in Korea were not from human test subjects at the hands of Ashen, but an innocent deer that had simply consumed the resurrection plant and then died and reanimated just seconds after. It wandered the forest looking for other animals to attack as an OG carrier that could not spread the virus. Before it could show the full capabilities of an infected deer, it instead was met by a vicious tiger that immediately attacked and killed it. Consuming the fawn's flesh, the tiger itself became a second-generation carrier, retaining all of the silent prowess it had in life for its hunting instinct, being that of the giant feline, but now more durable, showing visible signs of rot on its face and its blackened innards. Although not many have been shown, it is to be surmised that non-human hosts, or at least organisms with more fearsome hunting instincts, retain some of their intelligence to make them more viable for spreading the parasite. And it's here that we can also see how the most probable causes for it spreading in today's environment would either be through the parasite attaching to other plants that are consumed by animals or people, or via the meat of tainted animals that come through the mouths of any meat eaters that sink their teeth in. Through the natural state of the food chain, all it takes is the first link eating a plant housing the parasite for it to spread like wildfire. From mice to dogs to bears to deer to squirrels and oh so many more animals of either carnivorous, vegan, or omnivorous appetites to possibly even insects. Just one chance conception of a parasitic-ridden plant to make an animal that will actively hunt and bite other creatures, killing them within days and causing a pandemic of just a lot of creatures dying for some inexplicable reason, and then eventually one of these animals being killed and eaten by a carnivore to create the next generation parasites from which all attacked, bitten, or eaten organisms will turn, spurring an outbreak of epic proportions, polluting local food supplies, causing paranoia over if any plants or meat are tainted via the hellacious parasite. There have been scenarios that we have discussed before where the zombie infection could or would reach any living thing possible and mean guaranteed game over for us all. In Kingdom's case, most likely only mammals are capable of carrying the parasites, drawing similarities to the rabies virus in more ways that we will discuss shortly. Insects and animals of all kinds have been shown to steer clear of infected hosts for how voracious their appetites are and for the possibility of transmission being fearsome enough to drive all manner of life away. However, even with all these factors discussed, there is a giant determinant that hampers this parasite from becoming pandemic or even apocalyptic level. Beyond these abilities and capabilities, there's obviously a reason I lean into this being a scenario where you would probably survive. Kingdom's zombie plague has quite an Achilles heel to it that lowers it beyond the conventional zombie archetype seen across the genre. Like generic undead, it takes either removing the head or destroying the brain to fully disable them. That is, par for the course, but this is not their greatest crux. It's that they cannot fully function in both hot environments with direct sunlight and or being exposed to large volumes of water. Yeah, that's right. Heat and water are the best preventatives and sedatives for these creepy crawlies, despite, going into the bodies of living things that naturally create high heat and are primarily composed of water. Leaning back into the idea of the parallels with the rabies virus, the infected avoid water like, a plague. The parasite itself cannot survive when immersed in H2O. They simply drown and, ironically, wither. If an infected body is submerged in water, the parasites will all permeate and pop out of the body and subsequently wriggle and die. The body from which they previously inhabited, however, will fully be dead, having long been killed by the parasitic hold, only to exist as a formerly worm-ridden corpse. Now, if a living person that has just been exposed and infected by the parasites is brought to water, the same effect can happen, yet the victim will not die or turn, effectively curing them and preventing the zombification process, albeit with some permanent scarring from the infection point. The reason that a person does not return to their former selves and are simply dead upon the worms leaving their body is because of the parasite's demanding nature to keep itself alive. They cannot live in warm and mostly wet environments, so the parasite will effectively kill the host and basically parade their corpse around as a cannibalistic puppet, dramatically decreasing the body temperature of any host organism and forcing them to have a natural fear of open bodies of water. It doesn't matter if this is causing the body to deteriorate or decay or cause the insides to blacken, they will parade this corpse around. And it is this caveat that will make their proposed parasitic empire fall quickly. Yes, their spread could be deadly and expansive, and quite frankly, pretty damn fast, but their own positive outcomes are far outweighed by their detrimental factors. All infected will basically go dormant and lie around as if in a trance in daylight or highly hot and humid areas, going into dark places to rest and conserve energy, electing to only go out when it's cold, dark, or or cloudy, severely limiting what they can do and working on a schedule purely determined by the area they are in, the climate, the day and night cycle, and so much more. Yes, the flesh of the infected being exposed to high temperatures for the purpose of cooking also was bypassed because the high temperature clause of killing the parasite, even if causing it to mutate to make it spread through bites. But in all honesty, most of what the parasite can do can easily be snuffed out through direct light, heat, and water, which is all in abundance in most areas of the planet. Even in cold environments and tundras can this be all nipped in the bud just with some precaution of heat, both fire and temperature wise, and via packing heat. Local populace, government and health officials, and more would be quick to determine all of these weaknesses of the plague. Those in the Joseon era of Korea figured it all out with the tools and technology that they had, and that was over half a millennia ago. While it is a cool concept for it to have an environment where there's no guns, communications that are immediate, or anything like that, it was the only reason for this parasite, to have any kind of fear factor. With social media, communications, medical science, weapons, and more at where they are now for us, it would take no time at all to tell everyone to board up, get some weapons, consume canned goods, and wait for all of this parasite nonsense to blow over. There would most likely be more deaths via paranoid people and panic over people killing each other thinking they might be infected, or fighting over supplies that are not potential parasite carriers. But eventually, methods would be brought out and widely devised. Hell, maybe even ivermectin could be actually useful for people. The fact that the infected go to dark and cold areas to hibernate would only mean they would be easier to find and wipe out, either via, napalm strikes, gunning them down, setting them on fire, and, forcing them into open bodies of water. You can be in a lake, they could do nothing. There are a lot of ways to stop this parasite from doing anything that is anywhere near a why you would not survive scenario. You could figure out how to avoid this just through simple means. It would become almost customary for everyone to have a tub of water nearby, or being near any kind of water enough to submerge oneself in to get your dunking on. Just a few moments of bath time and those squiggly bastards will be out in a flash. Even if you get freshly bitten, just dive in some water. Hell, a chlorinated pool could even remedy your situation quicker. The infected would not fare well in hot, arid, or even slightly warmer environments. I live in Texas, they would not last a day, as they would simply excuse themselves to the shadows to be easily found while dormant and then executed. The infected do tend to adapt and evolve with some passing days, but the parasite would not last long enough to see any noticeable improvements in its infected behaviors, transmission vectors, and more. Water and heat are just too abundant in our current era. Even if you are in a more cold place, getting to someplace warm and well lit will be easy, and sometimes even easier to get to bodies or containers of water. Yes, animals becoming infected and being hyper killers will be probably the biggest hurdle, but even a zombified tiger can be easily taken out by a spear in Kingdom. So a 50 cal sniper ear or even a shotgun or pistol could pop those stripes off and say it's not so great. Hell, just chuck a Molotov and that heap will keep them at bay or burn away. Having constant fires going to repel them off like mosquitoes would make them easy to avoid. Yes, the infected are fearsome and hard to take down, and if you find yourself in a cold, dark room and unarmed, sure, you probably would not survive, as it only really takes a bite to take you out. But the odds are more stacked in your favor with all the elements that play against the Joseon plague monsters. Sure, it repelled invading Japanese forces because they were going into the unknown against a threat that was hard to pin down and something that was so unlike anything people had known before. But with everyone getting on their phones and typing up, use water, fire, and all to kill them during the day, these zombies and their threat level would quickly diminish. We would figure things out way too quickly, leaving them to have only their real chance of a large threat being from getting in any food supplies, as it's shown that the parasite can survive being cooked while within the flesh of a dead animal or person. But even then, by the time the tainted food starts having immediate effects, recalls, and executions will have anyone affected by it having their friends and family having handsome court settlements from the people that allowed this parasite to get in the food in the first place, while the parasite gets put under worldwide news and scrutiny before it gets completely obliterated off the face of the earth with how easy it is to eradicate and stop. Ultimately, it is a cool concept and premise within the zombie genre, and the wide range of potential marks for infection leaves its zombie ranks to have quite a bit of diversity, especially when it comes to turning people and making them able to transmit the disease through bites. But there is too much work that is needed to be in its favor. All the cards have to fall in the right place, and logistically, despite us saying because of the response to COVID, we would be cooked. But nah, humanity has survived tons of plagues with way harder means of fighting it off, even allowing a percentage of the total population to die. But here, just some water, sunlight, and heat. Hell, just go outside, swim, and touch some grass. That is the cure. If you get bit by a monster, go hydrate. There are cases of crown princes in the Joseon dynasty being born immune to the parasite, but that's a case for another day. Kind of been on a cliffhanger for that for a while. You are not newborn into this parasite, but you can have common sense to survive like any other living being. That about wraps up this look into Kingdom's ancient take on the zombie. What do you think? Let me know down below. Support the channel on Patreon by becoming a patron by just chipping in $1 to see videos up to a week early, or being a YouTube channel member to have your name featured here. Until next time, I'm Zach S, aka Wild Stitch Gaming. Never forget to stay happy, stay healthy, stay away from eating tainted meat, and most importantly, stay well.